Welcome. Your ship will arrive momentarily. In the meantime, we ask that you secure any delicate cargo, such as children or immature individuals, in the loading bay. Loose items like fragile egos, endless mental chatter, political fantasy, and religious dogma are prohibited. As we prepare for departure, please be advised that the challenges this mission holds offer particularly significant risks to the mind, heart, and will of the explorer, and the odds of survival as you know them are extremely low. Your bravery in the face of this great adversity inspires us all.
I'm trying to save you and your family's life. I'm giving you a choice. Either put on these glasses or start eating that trash can.
We are not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Are you ready to free your mind from those silly-ass chains? Well, buckle up, friends, because you are watching the baddest show in the Milky Way. Take aim or take cover while we annihilate ignorance, deception, and slavery in all its forms. Welcome to the Holy Warship Podcast.
You're not getting away from the long arm of natural law.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Holy Warship Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Butler. Today, we are on episode 9, and I'm glad to be back. I've taken some time off, so excuse me for some of my tardiness arriving and getting here on time. We have an awesome show today. We're going to be getting into some of the fallout of the golden age that we discussed on episode 1. And I thought the golden age has kind of come full circle since episode 1 of the Holy Warship. And it would be cool to just go back over everything and kind of just take the time to put the pieces back together and in a different way, updated information. We've all been examining the golden age and how it's coming along. And it is a sight to behold. There's actually so much going on that it's hard to keep track of, and it's hard to zoom out and see the big picture, and no voices are really zooming out and getting the big picture. So many voices are caught into the hype of things, and they are caught into the purely material aspect of everything. And I think that is a mistake, because no one's zooming out to look at what the golden age is, what is going on, right? And so, yeah, we're going to be discussing the golden age. We're going to be discussing the season of sacrifice, the false flag season that we are in the midst of, or at least towards the tail end of this. And I'm excited to just hang out and chill with you guys. I got the chat going, so anyone just drop a comment or a question, and I will answer you in a timely manner. We are live on Rumble, Kick, Twitch, Odyssey, YouTube, and X. And so the X stream, I'm not really catching comments here in my software, so I'm going to have to glance up to see the X stream. And yeah, let's just keep going here. I always like to thank the One Great Work Network, because there's a lot of great work there that people could check out. And I will just share my screen and show you guys what the One Great Work Network is. Let's see here if I can get this done properly. The One Great Work Network is a privately organized collective of conscious individuals who each create dynamic content for the purpose of spreading the message of natural law, truth, and freedom to a worldwide audience. The people over at the One Great Work Network truly understand the dynamic of consciousness and the requirements to make a difference in the world. These people really are making an effort, and it is just a small group of people who are making the effort to actually make a dent and try to turn the ship around and try to help raise awareness that humanity is being managed and humanity is being directed and herded into a path that it will most likely or possibly not recover from. And yeah, so go check out the One Great Work Network. For anyone who would like to stay up to date with my work, you can find it at aaronbutler.work. And this is where you can even tune in and watch the show, the live stream. I have another live stream that is going to be starting up shortly. And yeah, well, I'll tell you a little bit about that, because you might think, Aaron, you can barely manage this live stream. You can barely keep up with this one and progress on this one. Well, the second podcast that I'm starting will be called Principled Life, and it's going to be more laid back. I'm not going to get into news or, I guess, conspiracy in as much as is required to discuss principles and try to educate people on what principles are, and not just scientific principles. We're going to be discussing principles about life and principles that are needed for life, because many people think that principles are just a belief system or something like the materialist scientific principles, like different laws of science. But the true principles about living come down to just the basic fundamental facts about reality. This as the small pieces that reality is built on. And I won't get into it too much, but it will be a more laid back show, and I won't have the pressure of scrambling to get all these pieces together. It'll just be simple education and helping others and talking to others. It'll be a live stream that is about talking and helping others connect dots in their own life and avoid all of the hype and avoid all of the news that a show like this would discuss. So yeah, if you'd like to go check out my website, it's aaronbutler.work. There is some resources there, some download links, and this will be growing in time. You can donate to any of my donation methods over on the donate page. And yeah, this website will be where you can find any of my work, any of my podcasts, any of my content, and any of my links that are necessary. So yeah, so let's get back over to our slides. Anyone out there in the chat, anyone watching, please ask your questions, because I want this show also to be about interacting with people and forming a larger community of people who want to make a difference and want to make a change. I want to focus it on the viewer, because as you'll see in this show, what I have been trying to do is bring together a bigger picture and zoom out on the consciousness of the present condition of Earth, and to get rid of and dispel the lies and the mystery in as much as is possible. Over on aaronbutler.work, you will be able to see this presentation, which is a 2-hour presentation that I had made, my debut presentation called Everything You Should Already Know, where I break down a rudimentary, simple understanding of where humanity has been for the past 300,000 years and where humanity kind of originated, gets into consciousness, what evolution truly is, and essentially billions of years of what life as we know it is into just a couple hours. And it is not a perfect presentation, and if you can tolerate listening to me and tolerate sitting there watching my very first presentation since high school, then I think my high school presentation was probably better. But anyway, my very first presentation that I made was about Van Halen, and I wish I could find that. I don't think I took it very seriously at the time, but that's just a funny caveat. And so I always start off with a warning. And I've come to the realization that I'm a person who can get claustrophobic with too much order, and that's a blessing and a curse. So this show will be changing. I might even take away all the warnings and just make sure that my audience knows what they're getting into, because it's called the Warship, right? It's called Holy Warship. Looks like, let's see if I can fix that. Maybe drag that in a little bit. There we go. So this show is for adults, and I'm an adult. Hopefully anyone watching is an adult. And if you're not an adult or you're young, you might not be ready for some of this in the way that I present it here. For anyone who anyone who is immature or wants a simpler understanding of things and to bypass all of the blood and guts of the world, go over to my website or subscribe to my social media and get updates about Principled Life, because that will be a more soft teaching platform instead of this. So hopefully everyone out there is stable, or as stable as you can be on this rock. And this show, this podcast, hopefully is meant to help people see the bigger picture and kind of get a better grasp and understanding of what's going on in the world. But I don't want this show to destabilize anyone in as much as they already have a hard enough time handling reality itself. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes and I get things wrong. That's why I also felt that this episode should just be an overview and an update with the information that I presented before, because no one can bat 1,000, no one can be perfect 100% of the time. And refining the material and refining your thought, the way your understanding of things is what it's all about. Humanity is late to a very important date, as you will be able to see in this presentation, that there's a lot going on out there. There's a lot going on out in the world, and it has been happening for a long time. And for those, humanity seems like they're just now barely even scratching the surface of anything that's going on. People are still living in the wrong dimension, essentially. We are so late that one of the saddest aspects of this show is that we are so late, and my urgency and my pressure, the pressure that I put on myself, is so immense, but it's unreasonable for me, for just me. It's so unreasonable, the amount of pressure that I have put on myself to get this out there, and in so much pressure that it makes me freeze up with creating content. It makes me freeze up because I value the truth so immensely, even though I'm not perfect and I don't always live that truth to the fullest. But I see where humanity is at, and it makes it hard to navigate sharing content and navigate teaching other people, because nobody wants to really be taught. Nobody really wants to be a listener these days. Most people are just a believer, which we will get to. So please don't believe me. I don't want anyone to believe me. The worst thing you could do is just believe anything I say, because I can be incorrect about certain things. My mission is to get people to simply stop and look around. I'm not trying to make anyone believe anything I say or just be a copycat or a follower of me, because that would be a terrible choice. The idea of belief is the very first part of our presentation. So if you are ready to learn about what beliefs are and how important they are, then stick around. So everybody else out there makes their own choices. Nobody can make choices for you physically at all, not even mentally. You have to make the choice of what you do with your life. So I stand against violence. There are clear definitions of violence and force, and most people, they hear the words that I say and they think that I'm calling for any type of violence or any type of violent action. That is not true. and it would be a gross fabrication of any of my work. I stand against violence, and I am pro self-defense. This one is the idea that truth is not terrorism. This day and age, our government would have you believe that if you are discrediting certain institutions, or you're discrediting the fundamental idea that government is legitimate, if you do not agree with that, the United States would have, and any government will call you a terrorist, because the very idea that you disagree with their claimed authority makes you, in their eyes, a terrorist. But the truth is not terrorism. The truth is the opposite of terrorism. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. So let's get into part one, which is beliefs. So a belief is an assumed truth. The idea that a belief is a truth is false. Even if a belief aligns with truth, there's no use in believing it, because if something is truth, it is just true and you can know it. Belief is what happens when you run out of knowledge or information. Belief is what happens when you say to yourself, this sounds good, I'm going to go with that. You don't verify anything. You don't check or learn or grow your vocabulary of understanding. Belief just means I'm not going to criticize or be skeptical about this. I'm going to just accept it to be true. So when humanity abandoned a long time ago, when humanity actually abandoned the desire to live in harmony with nature due to some trauma or some type of event or some type of changing environment that caused humanity to rebel from nature and go against nature, the methods by which they sought order was changed. So humanity began to write things down, get their myths organized. But what happened was those who had begun writing down the laws were making a claim to what was an acceptable belief, right? There was before mankind started writing down their beliefs and what history was, that was a way to grasp for order in the consciousness of the group or the tribe or the society or the civilization. The book and the tablet were ways to confine and create order from chaos, because for some reason, which is still a mystery, and some people think it was aliens who came down, and some people think it was a natural disaster, and some people think it was demons, fallen angels. But whatever you believe happened, because prehistory comes with the nice thing about prehistory is you get to use your imagination, and you get to look back and try to understand and put yourself in the mindset. You try to gather the knowledge, the minimal knowledge you can about prehistory, and you have to really think about it and weigh certain things and think about what was possible back then and what wasn't possible back then. So prehistory is fascinating, and I think that a lot can be learned from it, because you learn that when mankind during prehistory, when mankind lived in nature, they were not afraid of chaos. They understood that that's just a part of life, is that sometimes nature was unpredictable, and they had to live with unpredictability and live with chaos and focus on learning. Humanity started writing things down, and we started believing things because it was written down. And the people who started writing things down were a very specific type of people, and they were the man. They had the actual tools and sophistication enough to say, this is the way it is. Writing was actually, before civilization and government got started, people were already writing things down. You see them in caves. People were marking cycles of the moon or counting in a cave, right? It's not like writing was invented by sophisticated people. It's just that they wanted to adopt a way to get order on things, and especially people. So the world's stories, like the Code of Hammurabi or the Sumerian King's List or the Quran or the Torah or the Bible, these were written during a time that barely anyone even knew how to read. So right off the bat, it's a cult of educated. It's a cult of the elect, the selected. These people are all related to each other, and they married people of the same status. And these books, like the Bible, they were written in a way to teach those who were educated, but confuse those who are not. They wrote in code. They wrote in all these different ways that normal people of the time only saw it as a mystery, and they saw it as sacred, and they saw these much truths and mystery and in these texts. And so this is what occult literature is. The Bible is an occult document. People don't like that, but it most certainly is. You can learn about alchemy, you can learn about Kabbalah, you can learn about tarot, or many of the different symbolism. Much of the different symbolism it's all occulted symbolism. It's nothing to be afraid of. The only thing that makes it scary are people who really makes it scary. They make life scary. They want to control people. Can you think of any other book other than the Bible which controls and enslaves the minds of people more? Can you think of a book other than that? I don't think that there is a book which has enslaved more people than the Bible. Maybe law books. What was the law codes, or the stack of laws that the government has, or is like you couldn't even never read it. It's so many pages, like miles of words or something like that. But that's what it is. This is what belief is. So you take something to be true, and you don't verify it. How many people know Greek or Latin or cuneiform or Aramaic? The thing is, those who go into those studies to try to read those books, they're largely religious people. They're largely the people who have beliefs that prevent them from understanding what's going on. So beliefs shape our justification for the events that take place in the world. And when they live by, humanity ignores truth and walks the path written by the authors. So these stories that are thousands of years old, that are in the Bible, they shape the way that we see the world. And when that happens, they shape the way that we behave in the world. So what we see as getting fulfilled now and all this religious mission, this is a way that humanity has been managed and herded for thousands of years. It is difficult to accept. It is nonetheless true that beliefs and words written down by people thousands of years ago still control everything, influence everything, influence the minds of the people. Looks like that was a duplicate. So it's not prophecy, it's propaganda. People really want their beliefs to be true, and they want to see the world through a magical lens. And what they call prophecy is actually just a group of other occultists' beliefs, or another occultist's fables and yarn that they are spinning. So this is actually the way the world works. Okay, let's get into it. The golden age, right? We have to take a look, because this guy is seemingly in charge of everything, is what everyone would have you believe. And it's always worth it to take the time and just refresh ourselves on what we know about him and what is going on, right? So we know that Trump inherited wealth. He was born into wealth. He's a billionaire, playboy type guy. He is like the Giga Chad American man. Went to, the military academy, and he's an educated person for who he is and for what he is. This is just a fact of Donald Trump. He is born into the 1%, but he is he is clearly an American man. He's a worldly person. He has a materialist worldview. That's his perspective. This is who he is. And it's hard to say he's this super demonic evil genius. We'll get into that, right? But he's had programming, right? He's another person, another American who is a victim to the propaganda and mind control beliefs. So he's talking about he has been propagandized. That's what many people don't understand. They think Trump is acting of his own volition. But he has likely went to the military academy. He's likely been subjected to grandiose ideas of self-worth that he doesn't necessarily, that might not necessarily align with reality, but look where it's gotten him. You want to say it hasn't worked. You want to say that he's a fraud, but he's a person who has rose to fame and power, and he is a part of the force that is reigning in the globe as we speak. Now, I'm not saying he's doing all of this of his own volition, but look, he clearly has had ideas planted in his head. This is what happens when you affiliate with the military. This is what happens when you become a billionaire. This is what happens when you hang out with the ultra rich. So he thinks that this is the worldview that he sees. Or at least this is how he explains it to us or to other people who aren't in his club, right? So this is in his book. He's talking about Islamic fundamentalism. This has been years in the making. The war that we're seeing right now has been years in the making, and his perception of people and of the world have been shaped for this plan has been going on for probably hundreds of years. But he is the vessel and the chosen one to play it out, to lay it out in front of us. Things have to play out. You can't skip steps. But what happened? What happened to Trump? What started happening to fulfill these prophecies, right? Well, he talks about Islamic terrorism, right? He talks about Islamic terrorism. And a year and a half later, what happens? 9/11. He's right there. He's right there. He watches it. Like he for all he knows, they just for all anyone knows, they just created a supervillain, right? Or the guy that was going to rise up. So, I don't think Trump is entirely the type of psychopath that people think he is. I think he has to put on a mask, and he understands the role of wearing masks. But I think he does love America and what it's done for him in his life, and he does want to preserve that. America is worth preserving in the sense that it needs to be restored. It needs to be saved. This is where his understanding comes from. He has been curated to be the person that he is by maybe influences, but also by what has gone on in the world. So he's been talking about running America and the way that it should be ran. And I do think he has a messianic, he either wants to, or maybe he doesn't want to, but he feels like he has to. That's the true hero archetype, right? He doesn't want to shake a leg, and then he's put into a circumstance. It's the ultimate, the call to action for the hero is that he's put in a circumstance where someone has to do something, and he looks around and says, well, I don't see anyone else stepping up, and I think I could probably do a hell of a lot better job. And he probably thought that for a long time. So America, he was the perfect candidate to save America, right? So Trump is also like just a traumatized person, I believe. That's obvious, right? And he's playing this role. So what do you think? If you watch that happen, with binoculars to the city you love, the city that you built. Thing is, Trump built that city. I'm not saying he built everything, but I'm saying that Trump built this. If Trump is a villain, then he was created, right? He doesn't have the trademarks of a blood-born psychopath. He has the trademarks of someone who is deeply traumatized. And what other trauma does he have? Getting called a rapist, getting called a pedophile, getting called a fraud, being shot at, and having people around him die. This is not me sticking up for Trump. I don't carry the beliefs that Trump does. I don't carry the beliefs that most people do. This isn't me sticking up for Trump. This is me, as Alex Jones would say, I'm just calling balls and strikes. I'm just calling balls and strikes, right? So who is Trump? Who is this person? This mystery, this dual-natured person? Who could this be? Is he evil? Is he a saint? Is he the greatest American president? What is this? How can someone call for the entire destruction of a civilization never to return? How could someone be like that and also want to save America? How could that even happen? Most of the time, people who just want to destroy other civilizations, and then they also just want to save other people and save their nation, you could say it's self-interest. You could say, well, easy. He wants to kill them and have us survive. But that's not it. If he would have never gone through what he has been through to be the president if it was all about himself. If it was all about himself and his own self-interest, he would have never joined the fight. He would have never joined the fight if it was all about himself. So remember, he watched the city he loves get destroyed. He watched people jump out of buildings, right? So we're going to answer who Trump is. Here's the actual truth of the matter. Donald Trump is America. He is a manifestation of the American way. America, from its very beginning, was not about making the world a Christian Atlantis. America was one step in the process of freeing ourselves from tyranny. And America knew that evil does exist. How do you free yourself from evil? How could you free yourself from evil? You have to understand evil. And the mistake of our forefathers was thinking that evil can be bargained with. This pentagram is a symbol for a bargain with a demon or the devil. America still believes to this day that evil is necessary. But the thing is, evil wants you to believe it's necessary, that you have to bargain with it. Evil tricks you into thinking you have it under your thumb. Evil slowly creeps in, thought by thought. And eventually, evil seems good, and good seems evil. This is who America wanted to take over. This is who we want, period. America wants the government, and this is what they're getting. Man being by nature all free, equal, and independent, no one can be subjected to the political power of another without his own consent. So humanity is consenting to the demon. We're consenting to the system, the beast system. Now, does this mean that Trump is an antichrist or a demon? I think the jury's out on that one. But America's subconscious desires have manifested in reality. We believed that voting for him would make all of our pain go away. America wanted a savior. They got one. America wants a villain. They got one. America believes Trump is in charge. He believes he's in charge. America got what it has manifested, and the world is getting what it has manifested. In totality, there is no Trump's an evil villain. If we didn't want Trump to be around, he wouldn't be there. So Trump and the forces that he fights have been created by humanity's unrecognized shadow and a willing blindness to evil. America's issue is that it just doesn't know what it doesn't know. America doesn't know that there's no turning back. America still hasn't realized that there is no turning back. There's no vote. The dice are already falling. The dice are already out of our hands, right? It's already happening. The dice are moving. So you have to think about it like everyone watches Trump like it's a movie. They all hate the characters in the movie. They scream at the television. Everyone mistakenly thinks that he has like a choice in the matter. This guy is running off of nothing but what the world has given him to operate on. America treats it like it's a movie, so that's how it plays out. America lives as voyeurs to reality. The world lives as voyeurs to reality. They just want to watch. They're too afraid to make any decisions for themselves. Trump is living his authentic life. As crazy as it is to say, this is his purpose. It looks like he does believe he is trying to prevent America from being totally destroyed. I think he watched for years the people who were destroying America, if he doesn't destroy them, they are going to destroy him because they have attacked him for years. None of this is a defense. This is just like a case study of Trump. You don't have to like it. I'm just calling balls and strikes here, folks. This is why Trump is so controversial. I do think that the people Trump is fighting were trying to burn America to the ground, along with all of the evidence that they were ever there. And I think someone higher up in the food chain, or some force higher up in the food chain, had a different plan. We'll get into that. This is why everything he does, in order to save the system, it's we'll get to this analogy later. In order to save the if you have a gangrenous infection on your foot or something, and it's spreading, or let's just say some kind of crazy flesh-eating bacteria, the concept is you have to cut off the leg. You have to be the willing to do that. And this is why every step he makes towards saving us in his mind is the actual effect of that is just a bloody mess. And I think that ultimately every decision he's making is playing into the hands of another system. There's another system that's coming into play. This is why every choice he makes, it's always just a bloody mess. We'll get into it. So he's being the character and fulfilling the prophecy of the story the world wrote for him. And everyone wants to hate this guy. Everyone wants to send all their hate and energy towards him, and all the conflict and everything that goes towards him. But people aren't understanding what is actually playing out right in front of us. People just want to get charged up and hate something. So now we're going to get into the season of sacrifice, right? And what a perfect time for the season of sacrifice. What is sacrifice? Sacrifice is the art of surrendering the lesser to attain the greater. It's the key to transcending the self, right? Everyone knows you want to get in shape, you got to sacrifice some time, some energy, some effort. You have to sacrifice your attention. Everyone understands instinctively anytime you do something, if I want to play more guitar, that means inevitably other things will get less of my time and less of my energy. You're moving energy to one priority instead of another. So the season of sacrifice, running from March 22nd to May 1st, is an occult period of intense ritualistic energy, historically associated with blood offerings, warfare, deception, and mass psychological manipulation. March 22nd to May 1st. What's the date? Oh, April 24th. We are in the season of sacrifice. Look at that. In esoteric philosophy, the period represents a gateway between destruction and renewal, where the forces of war, transformation, and deception are invoked. What do we see right now? There is nothing but deception. Nothing but deception going on in the world. Nothing but war. Nothing but transformation. These changes that are playing out in the Strait of Hormuz and all of the straits and in the ocean, all of these serve two purposes. It serves the purposes that they ostensibly and overtly look like they're doing, but Trump is not sharing any of that information. Trump is not sharing information with anyone. So they're using the fear and the death. War means confusion. To confuse something. War is ultimately about confusing your enemy enough to give in to what you want. So what do we see in the Strait of Hormuz? And what do we ultimately see Trump doing? He is fighting against the system that has undercut. America is the underdog. Trump is the underdog. Even Trump's own allies have turned against him. He gets stabbed in the back daily, right? But this is the life he lives. The lies and the deceit are part of the game. There is only one rule in warfare, ladies and gentlemen, and it's to win. The only rule is that you win. period. Trump's bringing all of the American energy back to the United States, which dig baby dig, or drill baby drill, right? His administration is full of AI and fusion companies and energy people. Evil is all about self-preservation. And America, this system is all about self-preservation. This is why it looks evil for what Trump's doing, is because America forgot who it was. America forgot that evil is the game it's involved in. There is no government. There are no rules for government. There are no rules to the masters of the world. The masters don't play by law and order. The masters play by the one rule. I win. The masters play by one rule. I win. This dichotomy of good and evil that everyone perceives, in the way that they perceive it and understand it, it's false. There may be good and evil in this world, but the people who rule the world, they don't like that. They want their own rules. This is why Trump is willing to shut out the rest of the world. And he's saying, nope, it's America's turn. Or it's my turn, whatever he thinks. It could be all about himself. But maybe he realized, even with his billions of dollars, the plans for the planet didn't involve him, because he was halfway an outsider to the game. He didn't participate, as far as I know of, with all of the six satanic stuff. But America hired him to do the job. And now America is abandoning him because of him having to play the game in the way that it's played. The game is psychopathy. War is psychopathy. I think that Trump knows the only way out of the problem is through it. America wanted to vote the problem away. America wanted to just, oh, la-di-da, I'm going to vote, and that's going to solve the world's issues. And now, the person that they put in charge to manage these issues and get America somewhat back to a stasis instead of burning to the ground like the plan was. But here's the thing. What if, we'll get into it. I do think that Trump sees America as more important than the rest of the world. But I don't think that's necessarily a racist type of situation or a billionaire type of situation. I don't think he wants to cut off the rest of the world. I think it's the idea that if you have a rotting leg, you have to remove it. And you have to sacrifice that leg and your life with a leg. You have to sacrifice, you have to risk. The benefit outweighs the risk, is the way that Trump sees it. I think he's seen the plot to destroy America for decades, and seeing the institutions trying to jump ship and all of the people trying to jump ship. And he said to himself, I think I can salvage what's left, but we're going to have to beat off the rust. So we see Trump reorganizing the entire government, right? We see all of these people who are Trump's sworn enemies. All of these people, all of these inbred people, right? They're decades and decades and decades and bloodlines of control and power. If anyone asks, how does the one secret cabal run the world, blah, 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 it's not like it's aliens that need to sit around in a spaceship and control the earth. It's notebooks passed from grandfather to grandson. It's thoughts, it's beliefs, it's lineage, it's prophecy. All of these people, they have been curated just like Trump. You couldn't write this script more perfectly. Trump saw all of this coming. He sees the infested body part. He's watched the infested body part. America has watched the infested body part. We know what's going on. But guess what? If Trump is the guy and he knows what he's doing, is America just gonna jump ship and find another leader to pray to and vote for? I think that's what a lot of people are betting on. And they're preying on Trump's downfall. They're not helping him stay afloat. These people, they'll just get heart transplant after heart transplant, and they'll stay alive for fuck off, right? But people are ditching Trump. They don't even understand what he's done or think it's valuable at all. This is why you have flip-floppers who they're inconsistent because they voted for Trump and wanted him to be in office for 10 years. And now all of a sudden when things are getting hard, they jump ship. They're inconsistent. And like I said, I'm not sticking up for Trump. I do not have any political affiliation or a dog in the only dog in the fight that I have is I want my country to not go to civil war. I want my country to not collapse in the way that it could collapse. I don't want I would like to mitigate the suffering as well. And if Trump is true in what he wants for America, if he actually does want to save America, I agree with that. I don't want to save the rotting corpse leg. I don't want to save the welfare state. I don't also want to save the police state. America is giving up on itself, just like it was planned, just like it was scripted. America is in a sad state. Trump, I think, is fine in playing the super evil villain because it gets the job done. And he's fine with, guess what? He's slashing all the bureaucracy. He's getting rid of the entire chain of command. The intelligence agencies are having to leak information and go against him because they don't know who to go to because it will be treason. He has adjusted the chain of command. He knows the only choice is to just cut off the foot. It's better to face the consequences and have him look like a psycho, crazy dictator than it is to let these people ruin America. There's no more... The sacrifice, though, the risk is that with him cutting off all of the chain of command, all of the bureaucracy, all of the checks and balances, the risk is that the American people are going to fall through the cracks. And the American people feel like he is cutting their legs off as well. They're part of the leg. And guess what? America, a lot of America is the leg that's getting cut off, the foot that's getting cut off. That's the idea. In order to make an omelet, you have to crack the eggs, right? And people aren't going to like that. So are these people just going to go away quietly into the night? Do you guys think these people are going to go off quietly into the night? Do you think that the plan for these people was to just go away quietly? Do you guys think these people were just like, oh, Trump's got it, let's just go. Let's just walk away, right? Does anyone believe that? Because I sure as hell don't. And we're in the season of sacrifice. So we can go back to that piece in the beginning about Trump worried about a nuclear bomb. So in another part of this book, the America We Deserve, Trump mentioned suitcase bombs, and we might have the likelihood of that happening on American soil. So like this is what Trump's nightmare is, right? Is something happening like nukes going off in American cities. And this is a common theme in American movies, that there will be a nuclear bomb going off in New York, right? Manhattan is the hit zone. So is this something that is going to happen? I'm not saying it could happen this year. I'm not saying when it's going to happen. But is this the event that Trump is trying to avoid? The hero always saves New York, right? The Dark Knight flies. It's a New York-like city. Watchmen shows, I think Dr. Manhattan, he explodes, kills, like a nuke went off in New York. A lot of movies explain a nuke going off in New York City, right? Or a New York-like city. I'm not trying to promote fear, obviously, but there are events that could be coming up America's alley that destabilize things. You have Klaus Schwab talking about the cyber pandemic, the cyber pandemic guy, right? And all of these people, they're not just going to go away quietly. They have their prophecy too, right? So they have their prophecy too. And I think but guess what? So here's what's actually happening. I think that Trump knows that he's on very shaky ground, and that the likelihood that there's going to be terrorism in the United States is probably higher than it ever has been ever, right? Because we have inside actors. We have bad actors in the bureaucracy. We have people who live in America, right? The sleeper cells. The sleeper cells are all around us. People don't actually understand the severity of what's going on. They're watching politics and what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz and the war the same way they watch any of these movies, okay? But what do you guys think Trump's defense is? With him cutting all of the bureaucracy and exterminating all of the welfare programs and non-governmental agencies, organizations, right? Well, he had to make a deal. He had to make an alliance. And this was when you saw Zuckerberg and all of the technology. This is history repeating itself. Now here's the deal. Nobody just gets to get off scot-free, right? But the only people who could pull it off, is the technology, right? The technology sector. So Trump makes a deal with I don't know about Altman. Trump could also be setting these people up, some of them. When things get to the nitty-gritty, people show their hands. It comes the time they have to play their cards. And you can preemptively bluff people into showing their cards and revealing their hands. And Trump is very good at that. But Trump had to make another deal in the best defense of America, which might have already been predicted. This has probably already been war gamed, right? So Trump made another deal to try to save America, right? He's trying to save America. He's doing his thing. So what people don't understand is that what's going to happen when Trump is gone? Because if Trump is just like a case study, and he's not as psychopathic as, let's say, Hillary Clinton, right? The boogeyman. What happens when someone like Hillary Clinton inherits it? I don't think that the people who are running it before are getting what they want. I think that they've been thrown under the bus. All of the satanic cabal were the dupes for a much higher, even darker system. You get rid of the compromised satanic schizos. So everyone is the idea is that Trump is fighting the satanic cabal, right? And it's not necessarily that the satanic cabal is in charge as we know it. Those are not the type. If you're intelligent and you have an understanding of morality, which if you did, you wouldn't be participating in any of these activities. But let's say that you understand the way the universe works and you're just a little farther removed, you convince certain sectors of society and indoctrinate all of these people to do your dirty work. And then the people who are actually running the show don't face any persecution or judgment. And I think there is a group of people that is outside of the public information grid to where they're not going to face any backlash. They're just going to assume roles and positions deeper into the system. Anyone who watches any of my content, I am very grateful to you, is that if you see things that make sense and you see good points, if you learn something, just clip it and share it somewhere. Like just random clips or just getting this information out there is really helpful. And I will do my best to continue making better work and better quality content that help provide the truth to people, or just thinking about things differently and not just believing everything, right? So we're going to end it here. I'm going to jump back on stream in a little bit and just bullshit and hang out. Thanks, everyone.